furry. It's fuzzy. It's ferocious. Fantastic! But it's no match.
Who will save us?
For the world's greatest inventor and his trusty companion.
We created a monster.
From the creators of Chicken Run.
Help! Someone help!
Mod supplies! Get your angry mod supplies here!
Wallace and Gromit, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit. Rated G. Starts Friday, October 7th everywhere.
See, that was back in the day when we didn't treat the G rating like it was a fucking pariah like we do today. But, yeah, Wallace and Gromit, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit, the second feature film from Aardman Animation, but the first to feature the signature characters from Aardman Animation, in a parody of classic monster movies and Hammer horror films that also serves as part of the Wallace and Gromit series, in which you have a good-natured yet eccentric cheese-loving inventor Wallace, once again played by Peter Sallis, and his intelligent, quiet dog named Gromit, who only speaks through his emotions. In their latest venture as pest control agents, they come to the rescue of a town plagued by rabbits before the annual giant vegetable competition. However, the duo soon find themselves against the giant rabbit consuming the town's crops. And, you know, I thought that commercial there was going to spoil what was in this movie, but did a pretty good job of not spoiling the big twist. But really, when you think about it, when you see what ends up happening to cause the were-rabbit to actually exist, you can kind of figure out where exactly it's going to go from there. But despite all that, this is still a really damn good movie. A really fun film in general. I love the Wallace and Gromit shorts as a whole. So seeing them in a big adventure like this, and seeing their world expanded in this way, we have all these different characters now being introduced into the storyline. It's really well done. And it's a great movie from Aardman Animation that proved that Chicken Run wasn't just a fluke. Aardman really has an opportunity to do many feature-length films instead of just short films in general, because Chicken Run was a big gamble back then that paid off for them in the long run. But this film in particular, what's interesting about this movie in general is that the film actually was a flop here in the U.S. I mean, it wasn't, okay, I take that back, it wasn't like a flop, but it definitely underperformed considering what DreamWorks Animation movies were making at that time. They actually made more money overseas, but then again, I think a couple things come into play in this case. One, I don't think Wallace and Gromit here in the U.S. was as well known as it is overseas. I mean, most people kind of know who they are here in the U.S. They've been on Cartoon Network a couple times in the 90s and the 2000s, Disney Channel as well. But here in the U.S., I don't think Wallace and Gromit have that same kind of love that they do overseas. Kind of like with Doraemon in general. Well, like, Doraemon has a little bit of a smaller fan base compared to anywhere else in the world, because Doraemon's a very popular character, and you know, Wallace and Gromit and Orion are kind of similar in that pathway. And another thing that I think kind of showed with this movie in particular is the fact that most stop-motion movies don't usually do very well here in the U.S. No matter what time of the year you put them out, they really do not become big blockbuster hits. I think Chicken Run had the advantage of opening up in the summer where, you know, there was a lack of family films to really combat it, and it just had the benefit of a good critical reception, good build-up with the audiences coming in. But, you know, Wallace and Gromit, Flushed Away, another one they did. What was another one? The Shaun the Sheep movies, Arthur Christmas, all great movies. Not big financial hits, however. But this one that got the most out of it because it did eventually win the Best Animated Feature at the Oscars that year. But then again, that's really not much of a surprise considering how much Wallace and Gromit are such likable characters. And what they do in this movie is so damn funny and so clever. The animation is incredible. The story is really well done. Like, they sold it as a vegetarian horror film, and yeah, it kind of feels like way. It's a horror film for vegetarians because of just how they shoot these scenes in general. It takes a lot of risk too. It's not just something that we've seen in the shorts beforehand. They've taken what they've done in the shorts, but expanded it and expand this world in general. Expand what they can do with the camera work they have in here. And it makes for a really fun adventure all the way through. That has a lot of really good animation, a lot of good talent, a lot of good jokes all the way through. Just a phenomenal movie. One that I cannot recommend enough. And since we got Halloween coming up here in the next month or so, now would probably be a good time to definitely check it out. Especially if you love Wallace and Gromit. If you have not seen this movie, you should definitely check this movie out. And as of the time of recording this, we're getting another sequel coming out this year exclusively to Netflix. But see if that turns out to be any good. Hey, they're bringing back the Penguin from the wrong trousers, so my interest is definitely piqued. And it'll be the first Wallace and Gromit adventure since Peter Sallis passed away. But yeah, not much more to say about this one. It's a great movie. Wallace and Gromit, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit. So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie. We have a lot of underrated movies that came out this weekend, and here's one of the first of many of them. Cameron Diaz and Toni Collette, along with Shirley MacLaine and Curtis Hanson's In Her Shoes.
There are women who have lace bras, silk thongs, things designed to excite a man. A thong would look ridiculous on me.
Shoes like these should not be locked in a closet. You should be living a life of scandal and passion. I'll let you do my resume if you let me do your makeup. Ew!
It's worth the pain. What was your last job?
Come on, you really don't want to do this right now, do you?
No, but I also don't want you on my couch for the next 3 months.
Why did you let her do this to you?
Because she's my sister.
Yes, Rosie.
I want you out now. Where am I supposed to go? You figure it out. Isabella Hirsch?
Yes, it is.
Do you have a daughter named Carolyn?
This is my granddaughter, Maggie Feller. Oh, hello.
Turns out I have a grandmother I never knew about. Our mother was dead. The grandmother might have come in handy.
She was impossible, Rose.
We know all about you. Miss comes to Florida to milk your grandmother for all she's worth.
Does this place have a pool?
This place just keeps getting better and better.
How come you don't have any pictures of my mom around?
You put out pictures, people ask questions. They expect you to tell them everything. I don't do that.
Just all the pieces coming together, from the acting to the writing to the directing, makes for a really great movie. Based off of the novel by Jennifer Weiner, you have a story where you have the relationship between two sisters played by Cameron Diaz and Toni Collette, and their grandmother played by Shirley MacLaine. This is directed by Curtis Hanson, who gave us 8 Mile and LA Confidential. Great movies in general. This is also written by Suzanne Grant, who's written a ton of good movies as well. It's a movie that I don't think got the proper respect it deserved. I mean, it did okay numbers at the box office, but has largely been forgotten since then. And it's kind of a shame, because this is a really good movie that definitely is much different than the bombastic movies that Hanson had made beforehand with, LA Confidential and 8 Mile. This is a more straightforward, straight-down-to-earth storyline that I think works very well to the film's advantage. Plus, you got a lot of great performances from the 3 leading actresses in here. Shirley MacLaine giving it her all in here. Cameron Diaz and Toni Collette are great. Mark Fairston's pretty good in the movie. You have a lot of very good talent in here. Just a really fun movie in general. A really solid film. Nice balance of comedy and drama thrown in here. It's a really, really good movie that doesn't get the proper respect it deserves, but it is definitely a very simplistic, nicely put together film. And a really great underrated film from Curtis Hanson, and especially with the people involved in it, I definitely recommend it. Definitely check out In Her Shoes. Speaking of good underrated films, here's another one. This is Matthew McConaughey, Al Pacino, and Rene Russo in Two for the Money.
Walter knows his business. A lot of gamblers out there, and they have safety. So Brampton knows the game.
Now what's 900K?
That's me. I don't lose. This guy is all he does is work out and pick winners. Man, I'm proud of you. This Friday, you don't have to much bigger fish. Walter knows when to start. You push everything as far as you can. Walter push small. Two for the money. Rated R. Starts Friday.
When it's a funny thing, this is a great movie. You have Matthew McConaughey as a former football player. An injury keeps him from hitting the pros, but his quarterback's anticipation makes him a brilliant predictor of games' outcomes. Needing money, he leaves Vegas for Manhattan to work with Walter Abrams, played by Al Pacino, who advises gamblers. Walton has a doting wife, played by Rene Russo, a young daughter, and a thriving business, but he has problems: a bum heart, a belief he's a master manipulator, and addictions barely keep him in check. He remakes Brandon, and a father-son relationship grows. Then things go awry. Walter may be running a con. The odds against Brandon mount. This is directed by DJ Caruso, who has directed a lot of movies that we talked about before. Some films that were not that great early on, The Salton Sea and Taking Lives. But starting with this movie, he began to turn it around a little bit. He directed some pretty good movies after this point, with this and then Disturbia, Eagle Eye, I Am Number 4. And then kind of slowed back down again after that with some really lackluster films in general. But this is a really good movie. This is a very underrated film. Like I said, it features Matthew McConaughey and Al Pacino working off each other so well. Rene Russo, I think this was one of her first movies she did after so many years away. I think the last movie I saw her in before this was Lethal Weapon 4. She probably was in some other things too, but But I think that's the last thing I remember her being in. But you also have Armand Asante in here, Jeremy Piven, channeling his inner Ari Gold in here. It's a really good movie, a really engaging film, a really sleek, stylish-looking film that kind of got a bad rap from most critics back in the day, but it's actually a really good movie. It's a really engaging film where you have two titans of different generations, Al Pacino and Matthew McConaughey, showing what they can do as really good actors in general, and they play off each other so well in here. It's a really good movie, and one I definitely recommend checking out. A criminally underrated film, two for the money. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie here. One of the big surprise hits of the weekend, and that is The Gospel. Part of that weird year where movies like this would just make big money at the box office. We talked about Women That Are Elusive from last year. Tyler Perry began his legacy, his dynasty with A Diary of a Mad Black Woman earlier in the year. Now we have this movie, which was a massive hit in general, and it retells the parable of the prodigal son in a modern context, where you have Boris Kodjoe as a showbiz artist performing in nightclubs in Los Angeles, learning that his father, who's a pastor at an evangelical church in Atlanta, is sick and decides to go home. He learns that Frank, played by Idris Elba, has become the second of his father and is married to Charlene, played by Nona Gay from The Polar Express, if you remember her as the little girl in that movie. Fred announces to his son that he has a prostate cancer. David gradually abandons his old life and begins to occupy an important position in the church, which will attract Frank's jealousy. You have Omar Goody in here, Clifton Powell. You see the names in the credits there, including Keisha Knight Pulliam. I've never seen this movie, so I can't really say if it's any good or not, but it was one of those movies when it first came out. It was one of those big surprise hits that kind of came out of nowhere and kind of showed that, these church groups who go to these movies, they usually will help make a movie like this become the success that it is, because this thing only cost $4 million and managed to bring in $7 million on its opening weekend, which doesn't seem like a whole lot, but for a small movie like this, I mean, it's impressive that this movie made as much money as it did. It ended up making about almost 4 times its original budget. So there you go. I mean, it just goes to show you that this was one of those movies that showed that these type of movies can do very well with the church groups that they usually get for these people to come together, and it kind of led to studios to really focus on not just church groups in general, but groups in general, because at the end of these trailers, you're going to start to see things like, for group tickets, called so-and-so and so-and-so. Like, I remember seeing that for, like, Transformers and all that other stuff, all these other blockbusters that started putting that in there, But yeah, it's a interesting thing that happened in this movie. I can't really say if it's any good or not, but give it credit for what it helped to launch overall, not just these movies becoming successful, but the idea of group ticket sales becoming more of a thing. So there you go. So with all that said, let's go ahead and go back to some movies that I have seen. More great underrated little films. Ryan Reynolds, Anna Faris, and Dane Cook, and Justin Long in the very funny comedy Waiting.
On October 7th, make reservations for a comedy for anyone who's ever eaten or worked in a restaurant.
God, I can't wait to quit this job.
Ryan Reynolds.
What do you think of Natasha? I think she's illegal. Yeah, I've made peace with that.
Anna Faris.
How do you feel about male nudity?
See what I mean? Pervert.
Justin Long, Luis Guzman, Dane Cook, and Andy Milonakis.
I'm pulling my shotty like John Gotti.
Amen, brother.
Waiting.
I hope you enjoyed everything. I know I did.
Rated R. In theaters everywhere October.
Another movie that went on to have a massive cult following, and it's kind of hard not to see why. I mean, it's The Dinner Shift of Shenanigans, where you have a clueless boss played by David Koechner, assigning Mitch, played by John Francis Daly, a 22-year-old trainee to Monty, played by Ryan Reynolds, who's the smooth talker who chases girls for one-night stands. Keep in mind, this is back when Van Wilder was very popular. Dean, played by Justin Long, feels that life is passing him by. Dan offers him the assistant manager job and gives him until midnight to decide. Other waiters, cooks, and busboys have their issues and personalities. Bishop the dishwasher, played by Dane Cook, is their counselor. Actually, is it Dane Cook as Bishop? No, it's T. McBride. I'm sorry. Dane Cook plays Floyd in this, but you can tell he's in here. They don't show T. McBride in the trailers for this, but Bishop, played by Chi McBride, is their counselor. During the shift, Monty may learn something. Dean makes his decision. Dan makes a play for the not yet 18-year-old hostess, played by Vanessa Langels. Customers get their comeuppance. The guys all play the in-house homophobic flashing game. The gals determine why they won't, and Mitch gets the last word. And boy, does he ever. This is basically Clerks, except instead of it taking place in a grocery store, it takes place over the course of a day at a restaurant. And it's very funny. It's a really good, entertaining movie with a lot of great talent. I mean, you know, a cast that includes Ryan Reynolds, Anna Faris, Justin Long, David Koechner, Luis Guzman, Chi McBride, John Francis Daly, Caitlin Doubleday, Alana Ubach, Vanessa Langels, Andy Milonakis, Dane Cook, Jordan Ladd, Emmanuel Shariki, Wendy Malick. Just stacked cast, stacked comedy talent all throughout this movie. And it's just really, really funny stuff, man. It's absolutely hilarious stuff. Just pitch perfect. Just really funny, over-the-top comedy. Good raunchy comedy all the way through. And like I said, it's basically Clerks in a restaurant, but that's not a bad thing, per se. It actually works to the film's favor in general, because you have so much good talent involved in here, and it makes for a really good movie. A really fun film, really funny stuff all the way through. It's a really good raunchy movie, and one that I highly recommend checking out. If you like stuff like Clerks, you like stuff like American Pie, if you like a lot of these raunchy comedies, these great raunchy comedies, this is definitely one that definitely deserves a lot more attention, and it has gotten the attention that it deserves. It has gone on to have that cult following, even had a direct-to-video sequel, which I'll be the first to tell you was not that great, which doesn't really surprise me with a direct-to-video sequel to waiting, but this is a really good movie. This is one I do recommend checking out. It's definitely worth a watch, So let's get to some indie movies, and so we have a couple of really good ones in this particular segment here. Let's start off with the best of the bunch, and that is Good Night and Good Luck.
Are my children going to be asked to renounce me? You can't convict people by rumor and hearsay and innuendo. I see a chain reaction that has no end, Bob. Somebody's going to go down for, and I will go down swinging. Here we go. We cannot defend freedom abroad by deserting it at home. Good night, and good luck.
Just what a fantastic movie. Last time I talked to you guys, on the last show, I said that this was George Clooney's directorial debut. I was wrong. Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, which is another great movie of his, was back in 2002, but this is probably his overall magnum opus as a director. The story portrays the conflict between veteran journalist Edward R. Murrow, played by David Strathairn. Great character actor. This is easily his best role in general. I mean, he just channels Moreau in this. And U.S. Senator Joseph McCarthy of Wisconsin, especially relating to the anti-communist senator's actions with the Senate Permit Subcommittee hearings on investigations. And a very topical movie, even by today's standards. I mean, now it's even more topical than ever, focusing on the theme of media responsibility and also addressing what occurs when U.S. journalism often offers voices of dissent from government policy. The movie takes its title literally from the line that Morrow routinely signed off his broadcast on, and it's just such an incredible movie, man. From the camera work, the visuals, the black and white sepia tone ideas, just incredible stuff. The cast is fantastic. You know, like I said, Strathairn, pitch perfect. You got Patricia Clarkson in here, George Clooney, Jeff Daniels, Robert Downey Jr., one of his two great movies coming out this month. Frank Langella, always going to be a terrific actor. Just an incredible movie. Like I said, has a lot of weight even in today's world in general, and just still holds up after all these years. It's just like, it's an amazing film, and one I cannot recommend enough. Definitely check this movie out. It's definitely one of the best movies of the year. Definitely one of the best movies of recent memory. One that definitely holds up a lot of weight in today's world, even back then, is compared to it. Let me rephrase that. A lot of what's in this movie still holds up in today's world than it did nearly 20 years ago. It's a masterpiece, man. One I don't usually talk about enough, but what a great movie, man. Good night and good luck. I can't recommend it enough, so definitely check this one out. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, and that is Kevin Bacon and Colin Firth and Alison Lohman in Where the Truth Lies.
Be a killer. question became how far you were prepared to go.
Definitely not one of Adam McGowan's better movies in general. This is based off of a novel by Rupert Holmes and alienates between 1957, where you have a comedy duo played by Kevin Bacon and Colin Firth at the height of their success, and in 1972, when a journalist played by Alison Lohman is determined to unravel the mystery of a young woman found dead in their hotel suite 15 years ago. The young model played by Rachel Blanchard. And yeah, like I said, Adam McGowan's made some good movies in the past. We've talked about some of his movies on the show. Exotica's a really good one. But this is definitely one of his lesser ones. I mean, this is a film that really is not that good of a movie. Even with Colin Firth and Kevin Bacon, given that they're all as well as Alison Lohman, it has an interesting mystery to it, but unfortunately, it doesn't have enough there to really carry the load. And it's one, unfortunately, you can kind of figure out what's going to happen when it's all said and done. I mean, there's no real shock to the mystery whatsoever. And when they get to the reveal, it's just like, that's it? That's all you got for us on that front? And it's just like, I don't know. I kind of expected a lot more with the talent on board here, not just with the actors, but the writer and director as well. Just not in this one, unfortunately. So, unfortunately, that's a skip on Where the Truth Lies. So, let's go back to some good stuff here to wrap the show up here. Let's talk about The Squid and the Whale. Written and directed by Noah Baumbach, who gave us The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou. He's also been involved in a ton of other great movies in general. As of recently, he did Marriage Story. It tells the semi-autobiographical story of two boys in Brooklyn dealing with their parents' divorce in 1986. The film is named after the giant squid and sperm whale diorama house at the American Museum of Natural History, which is seen in the film. And you have a cast that includes Jeff Daniels, Laura Linney, Jesse Eisenberg, William Baldwin, Anna Paquin. Really good movie, man. It's a really good movie that doesn't feel like a Wes Anderson movie, but it feels like what you expect from the director of Marriage Story. He's also done a lot of other great movies we've talked about on here, Kicking and Screaming. He will later do stuff like Margot at the Wedding, Greenberg, Marriage Story, as I mentioned before, the Meyerowitz stories, Francis Ha. He's written a lot of good stuff too. Fantastic Mr. Fox, Madagascar 3, Barbie recently. He's a really good filmmaker, and he definitely shows in this movie. He's got a lot of great actors to carry the load. He's got a good story to tell, a lot of really good young talent, especially Jesse Eisenberg in here. Not much more to say about this one. It's definitely one you should definitely check out. It's one, if you like a lot of Noah Baumbach's work, you'll definitely enjoy a lot about this movie in general. It's one I do highly, highly recommend. So, yeah, definitely check out The Squid and the Whale.
Something on my radar. Looks like a fog bank that's moving straight toward us.
And a fog moves against the wind.
Elizabeth? What's wrong?
I keep seeing horrible things happening.
Get off the island.
Why?
Just go. Somebody out here?
Congratulations, Sony. You took a classic horror movie and you completely just botched it up and made it into another generic 2000s horror movie. But then again, should we expect anything less from the same director that gave us such great movies as Stigmata and Blank Check? I think we all know the answer to that question. But in this movie, they tell us the story of a strange fog that sweeps in over an island town off the coast of Oregon, bringing with it the vengeful spirits of mariners who were murdered there 134 years before. The townspeople find themselves trapped and fighting for their lives while discovering the truth of their dark history. And, yeah. That trailer, I think, is a perfect sum of everything that's wrong with this movie. From the fact that everything gets so set up for the same predictable tropes that we've seen in so many bad horror movies, you know. The car all of a sudden just stops in the middle of nowhere, and then all of a sudden the evil fog comes, and it just so happens that a truck is there, and the car is able to just go careening into the water, killing off Selma Blair, and it's just like, what comedic timing that is. I'm sorry, what horrifying timing that is. And, of course, you got to have your ass shot in here. You got to have your woman in the skimpy clothing thinking that, you know, there's going to be a possibility of nipple in here. But then again, this is PG-13. So if you really think that at that point, you're really fucking stupid. But this movie really does think you're fucking stupid. I mean, the whole movie thinks you're fucking stupid. I mean, this is without a doubt one of the stupidest movies I have ever seen in my entire life. This is a terrible adaptation remake of this classic film. John Carpenter took an idea that was stupid and made it terrifying. It actually worked to John Carpenter's strengths. This movie, however, takes everything that made the original Fog such the classic that it was and essentially just turned it into, like I said, another generic ass horror film in the 2000s. I mean, there is nothing about this movie that's scary. There's nothing about this movie that's intimidating. There's nothing about this movie that's interesting whatsoever. It's a mess. It's a mess of a film on so many levels. Just not worth it in the long run. And, of course, because people are idiots, they went to make this the big hit of the weekend. And I guarantee you that as soon as they saw it, they immediately forgot about it almost afterward. I mean, who would remember this movie, except for the fact that it was a terrible remake of a classic John Carpenter movie. At least with Assault on Precinct 13 that came out early in the year, they were at least trying to modernize it for a new generation without dumbing it down for audiences, and it almost works. It's a fine movie for what it is, but you know, this is a bad movie. This is a bad horror movie. Even if it wasn't a remake of a classic film, it would have been a bad movie anyway. I guarantee you, if you saw this back then on the opening weekend, you probably have no idea what even happens in this movie. You probably don't even remember it. In fact, you probably don't even know that this movie even existed until I brought it up here. I mean, that's just my thinking on this movie's part, because yeah, this movie does think you're really that stupid to remember this film in general. But yeah. Terrible movie. Yeah, avoid it like the plague. So, we got the bad movie out of the way. Now let's actually get to the good stuff. Let's go ahead and take a look at some underrated films that came out this weekend, starting with Cameron Crowe's Elizabethtown.
From the director of Jerry Maguire, you're about to lose this company $1 billion. Comes a story about getting fired. What? Getting dumped. Can you love me?
Call me later.
Rescue me.
Good morning.
And getting saved by a complete stranger.
How can I leave you in distress?
Elizabethtown. I'm not used to girls like you.
That's because I'm one of a kind.
Rated PG-13. Starts Friday, October 14th.
Okay, that is a horrible commercial for this movie. I never even saw that commercial until I actually recorded that for this episode. But my God, that's a terrible commercial. Because first of all, if he was losing $1 million, he wouldn't have gotten fired. No, in the movie, he loses $972 million, and that's why he gets fired. And yeah, those moments where, you know, it's just like, it just feels like a really bad romantic comedy, and it's not that at all. In fact, far from it. It's actually a much more darker and more, it's more of a dramedy in a way, shape, or form, and that's what I really like about this movie. You have a young shoe designer, played by Orlando Bloom, who is fired from his job after costing his company an industry record of nearly $1 billion, $972 million. On the verge of suicide, Drew receives a call from his sister telling her that their father has died while visiting their former hometown of Elizabethtown, Kentucky. Deciding to postpone his suicide and bring the father's body back to Oregon, he then becomes involved with an unexpected romance with a flight attendant played by Kirsten Dunst, whom he meets near the start of his journey. And you also see Susan Sarandon in this film, Alec Baldwin, Bruce McGill, Jessica Biel, Judy Greer. Really good cast overall. And who else was in here? Paul Schneider is in here, Loudon Wainwright. Just a lot of really, really good talent in this movie. This is a really good movie that I really think does not get the proper respect it deserves. It's a really solid film, and it's a criminally underrated film for Cameron Crowe in general, who made a lot of really good movies in general. But this is a film that just works to the strengths of what Cameron Crowe does so well here. I mean, Kirsten Dunst and Orlando Bloom, they have this great chemistry together. You do buy into the relationship that they have, and you do like the journey that Orlando Bloom goes on. It does not pull punches when it needs to. I mean, it's a really, really good film overall. Maybe not as good as Cameron Crowe's Almost Famous, which I think that and Vanilla Sky, I think, are his overall magnum opuses. Even Jerry Maguire, I think, is a good movie in general, but this was a really good film that sadly does not get the proper respect it deserves. It's a really good film, very underrated film. I highly recommend checking it out. It's definitely, if you like stuff like Jerry Maguire, Say Anything, Almost Famous, Vanilla Sky, this is definitely right up there with some of Cameron Crowe's best work. Definitely a very underrated film. Definitely check it out. So with all that said, let's go ahead and move on to the last one we have here. Yet another underrated film that came out this weekend, Tony Scott's Domino.
Follow my instructions and we all walk away clean. Domino, you're with me on the side. Shepard, you cover the rear. All we want is the money.
This is an inside job. 10 million in cash.
Let's go home right now. What have I seen you do?
We're celebrity hostages.
Wow.
Oh, thank God.
Domino, rated R. Now play.
So not only does Will Turner have a movie out this weekend, so does Elizabeth Swann from the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. All that's missing is a film from Johnny Depp, but then again, Corpse Bride was still playing in theaters, so there you go. There's one with Jack Sparrow. So we've completed the trifecta there, but this is Domino, which is inspired by the story of Domino Harvey, who's the English daughter of stage and screen actor Lawrence Harvey, who became a Los Angeles bounty hunter and actually died from an overdose at the age of 35 of fentanyl on June 27th of this year, about a few months before the film was released. Its plot flashes back to when Domino, played by Keira Knightley, is a fashion model turned bounty hunter, narrating how a $10 million robbery came about 36 hours beforehand. Vicky Rourke, Edgar Ramirez, Delroy Lindo, Mina Savari, Monique, Lucy Liu, and Christopher Walken are among the cast in the film. Very underrated film in general, and plays to the strengths of what Tony Scott does that's so different from his brother Ridley Scott. And it was a film that did not get the best reviews when it came out. In fact, they got thrashed by critics when it came out, and was not a big box office hit either. But has gone on to have this following over the years, and rightfully so, because it is a really solid film, a very stylistic, cool-looking film that definitely is very visually interesting to look at with its dark twists and turns. And Keira Knightley shows she can hold her own in a movie like this. She fits the role of Domino so well, and it's just a really, really entertaining film all the way through. It's a very intense film. It's a film that does go to so many different lengths and goes to so many different aspects that you wouldn't expect from a film like this. And it does keep you invested in what's going on in general. It has a great script written by Richard Kelly, who gave us Donnie Darko. Just the pieces coming together so well here. And it's a film that really is a lot better than I think a lot of people let on. I'm glad to see that it is getting somewhat of a cult following. But because it is actually a really good film. It shows what Keira Knightley can do as a leading actress in a big role like this. And it just works all the way through. It has a lot of style to it, a lot of good action sequences, a lot of good storytelling. Very underrated Tony Scott film. One I highly recommend checking out. Definitely check out Domino.
At a distant research facility, all hell has broken loose. Now, order received and understood. Search and destroy. The Marines are going in. Game time. On October 21st. Don't move. Don't move. It won't be pretty. Doom.
Sir, are you okay?
Rated R, October 21st.
Let's think about this. It's 2005. We haven't had a lot of good video game adaptations up to this point. We're not at the point where they're actually hiring people who know what they're doing with the video game and actually making a movie based off the video game itself. How much do you think they're going to really do to make a proper adaptation of Doom in terms of a big screen movie? Not very well. Not very well at all. This is, of course, based off the series of games by the same company, id Software. You have a film that takes place with Marines sent on a rescue mission to a facility on Mars where they encounter demon-like creatures. And, well, I should mention, this is also directed by the same guy that gave us Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li, Andrzej Bartkowiak. Did I kill your buzz yet? Did I kill it yet? It's because I hope so, because, man, if you went to go see this movie, I'm pretty sure you were as disappointed as I was, because, good lord, how do you fuck this up so badly? I mean, Dwayne Johnson can be badass sometimes, and you've got some good actors in here, Carl Urban, Rosamund Pike. It has a cool intro. It has a cool intro that gets you kind of excited. You think you're going to get a good movie out of this, and then as soon as that intro ends, the bullshit begins to take place, and the film never comes back from it. It's a complete fabrication of what the video game was supposed to be like. It's a film that really does not feel like it's trying to do anything except to just be a cheap cash grab movie. At least something like Mortal Kombat and the 90s Street Fighter movie were trying, and it succeeded in some way, shape, or form. But here, this is just a studio making money because it's a property. People will go see it because of the name recognition. And let's tease the first-person shooter sequence, which, yeah, back then it was cool, but then when you watch it nowadays, it just feels like a cheap move to get people to come see the film. And it doesn't last long either. It literally lasts like 2-3 minutes. And even then, it's not worth it in the end. It's just such a terrible movie, man. This is just such a waste of time, a waste of effort overall, and you should have known it was bad from the director who's involved in it, because he's a hack director. He's never made anything of noteworthiness, as far as I remember. Nothing remembers whatsoever. The only thing that he did that was even remotely decent was Romeo Must Die, and even then, that was barely getting by. But like Exit Wounds, Cradle to the Grave, The Legend of Chun-Li, that should have given you the warning right out the gate that this was not going to be a good movie. So, yeah. I think I can honestly tell you that Doom is pretty bad. So, yeah, avoid this one like the plague. So let's get to a good movie. Let's start. We've already started. Let's go ahead and move on to our next movie. How about that? Let's say that. Let's go ahead and move on to Dreamer, inspired by a true story.
October 21st, all it takes is one big horse. If a girl will take the reins, and put the horse in your name, you make all the decisions. If a father will open his heart,
Can't you see how much she wants to be with you?
their dreams just might come true.
She wants to run.
Let's go.
Kurt Russell, Dakota Fanning.
Run hard, Dreamer. Run hard for my dad. He deserves a good run.
Dreamer, rated PG, starts Friday, October 21st.
And no, this isn't the 1970s Dreamer with Tim Matheson from Animal House and a bowling equivalent of Rocky. No, really, that's the whole concept of that movie. Cinema Snob has done a great review of it. You should go check that out. But no, this is a different kind of Dreamer. It's Dreamer inspired by a true story. And we got to have that as the bottom there because that's clearly going to sell the movie to people. But it is inspired by the true story of an injured thoroughbred racehorse named Mariah Storm. And you have Kurt Russell, Dakota Fanning, Chris Christopherson, and Elizabeth Shue among the cast in the film. Written and directed by John Gattens, who has written a couple movies you might be familiar with. Most recently, he had done Coach Carter, and then after this, he would actually be nominated for an Academy Award for writing the script for Flight, a great Denzel Washington movie directed by Robert Zemeckis. But I mean, it's a story we've seen done to death so many times before. We had a movie earlier in the year that was kind of basically this, Racing Stripes, except take out the horse and make that a zebra. I mean, we've had movies like we have a lot of movies like Flicka coming up next with Secretariat. Seabiscuit, I think, was the big draw that made everybody realize we got to make some horse movies, man. Horse movies are the way to go, yo. And I guess it does work out because the film is okay. I guess not great, but it's good. It's good. Like, it's one that I saw and was just like, okay, this is actually not that bad of a movie. But I've never really had the real desire to go back and watch it in general. From what I remember from it, I did like it in general, and there was nothing about it that was really bad or anything, but it's just, we've seen this kind of story be done over and over again. I think it helps that you do have a good cast with Dakota Fanning and Kurt Russell leading the charge here. And yeah, it's a very heartfelt storyline that does work to the intention of what they're trying to get across here. I think it works fine. I think it works fine as a film in general. I haven't seen it in a while, though, so I don't know if it holds up. I don't know how much it holds up, but I don't think it'll really hurt the film in general if I go back and watch it and find something bad about it. I don't think there really is a lot there that would be bad about it in general, but as it is, it's alright. Alright film indeed. So, with that said, let's get to another underrated movie that came out this weekend. Charlize Theron in North Country.
Making my own money, can feed my kids. Most people's mothers don't work at the mine.
They don't belong in that mine.
It's kind of out of control up there, isn't it?
Keep your mouth shut and take it like a man.
He attacked me. They can't do this to us. I want us through the mine.
None of those women would take your side.
Whether you win or lose, you stand up.
The heck of it ain't. Watch one of your own get treated that way. She's still my daughter.
North Country, rated R, starts October 21st.
Because the 2000s needed a modern version of Norma Ray, I guess. I mean, if you saw Norma Ray, this is pretty much kind of the same movie in general, which is inspired by the 2002 book Class Action, the story of Lois Jensen and the landmark case that changed sexual harassment law by Clara Bingham and Laura Levy-Gansler. It chronicles the case of Jensen versus Evelyn Taconite Company and USW Local 2705, which supports the employees' efforts through the horrific events and ensuing legal battles. And you have Charlize Theron at the forefront of this, with a cast that also includes Frances McDormand, Sean Bean, Richard Jenkins, Jeremy Renner, Michelle Monaghan, who's got another movie we'll take a look at in just a little bit, Woody Harrelson, Sissy Spacek. This is Nikki Caro, who directed Whale Rider before this, and it's kind of an underrated film. It was a film that kind of came and went. It was supposed to be like Warner Brothers' big Oscar push movie for 2005, one of the big ones they had. And like I said, it did kind of come and go. It wasn't a big blockbuster hit. It did well with critics, and Charlize Theron and Frances McDormand did actually get a couple of Oscar nominations for this film, but didn't win them. But they're both really good in the movie, and the film overall is good. It's a really good film that I think is getting its point across pretty well. But like I said, it is pretty much just a modern version of Norma Ray. Like, Norma Ray had kind of a similar storyline in general, and I think that's done better. But in this movie, I think it works very well for what they're trying to go for here. And nothing too spectacular about it, nothing too amazing, but it is definitely an underrated film. One I don't think that gets the proper attention, and has a really good underrated Charlize Theron performance. So, I recommend it on that front. Definitely check it out, North Country. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie we have here. A movie with Ewan McGregor, Ryan Gosling, Naomi Watts, and Bob Hoskins, directed by the same guy who did Finding Neverland the year before. And you probably never even heard about it. This is Stay.
Do you know Dr. Patterson? Pleased to meet you.
What's the matter, Henry?
That's my father.
You told me your father was dead.
He is dead. He's dead, and that's him walking out the door.
Henry?
I'm a psychiatrist.
I want to know more about Henry Latham.
Let me talk to him.
First, I gotta find him.
He'll find you. I've been waiting for you.
Mrs. Latham, do you know how to contact your son? I'm a psychiatrist.
You're a bleeder.
I spoke to Maureen Latham an hour ago.
She told you her name was Maureen Latham.
Yeah, we were talking about her son.
I went to high school with Maureen Latham. She's been dead for months.
Speaking of movies that were probably trying to copy a trend that they thought was going to be successful, like White Noise and The Jacket are very similar films that came out around this time of the year with a similar plot to this. This is a film about, as the synopsis here says, a thought-provoking and haunting exploration of how reality and dream states may combine to form complex interactions. The line between the imagination and reality blurs when an accomplished psychiatrist takes on a patient that appears to be suicidal. So there's a little bit of also of Jacob's Ladder in there, the criminally underrated Tim Robbins movie from 1990. Like I said, directed by Mark Forster, who before this gave us Monsters Ball and Finding Neverland, and David Benoff, who had written Troy and did 25th Hour before this. So there is good talent all across the board here, but a very muddled film there that doesn't really work to what the film is trying to accomplish here. It's definitely a very disappointing film in general, because the cast is there, the writing is there, the direction is there, but it doesn't have a clear idea of what the overall message of the film is trying to be. Like, what am I supposed to get across from this? Like, it's trying to be one of those murder mystery thrillers that you're supposed to keep getting invested in as the film goes on. And as the film goes on, it just gets really boring, and nothing of interest happens after the second half of the movie. It just kind of like drags on and on and on. But you can also tell that Mark Forster has all these different styles he wants to put in here. As I mentioned before, Jacob's Ladder, but according to Wikipedia, he's also using a lot of different styles, including his references to films like Vertigo or the works of Nicholas Rowe. And yeah, you can make as many of those references as you want to, but if you need to give me a good story to really go along with the visual effects here, because yeah, like I said, I've always said this, like, a movie can have great visuals, but if the story ain't that good, it's not worth saving the film in general. If the visuals do not make the fucking movie, and this is definitely an example of the visual look of the film not saving the fucking movie, because man, this is such a letdown when it's all said and done. It starts off with a promising cast, a promising director, and a promising writer, but everything else, like, it doesn't really leave you with anything when you come out of it. It's just like, it even gets a little bit too pretentious for its own good, pretty much. Like, I like Mark Forster as a director, but this is definitely one of his lesser films in general, and one I would say hard skip on this one, unfortunately. But so that is Stay. So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, another movie you probably have never heard of, but there's a talented cast involved in here, at least in some areas. We'll talk more about that after I show you a little bit of Kids in America.
Mary Poppins, Grease 1, Grease 2. What do all these films have in common? Comedy.
Forget Homecoming.
Use your legs!
Forget the prom.
I have zero tolerance for that.
And forget graduation.
Oh yeah, shake that for me.
Because the kids of Booker High have bigger problems.
You're suspended 10 days. Get out.
My job here is to mold each and every one of you into upstanding citizens.
That young man that just heard you. I suspend you.
It's within my authority to suspend you for such a reckless act.
This is so, I don't know, what's the word? Oh yeah, stupid.
This administration claims they want to challenge our way of thinking.
No one listens to us. Are you retarded? Really?
She's like the worst principal ever.
And this may be one of the worst raunchy high school movies you'll ever see, because yeah, this is pretty rough of a film. The movie centers around a diverse group of high school students banding together to peacefully stick it to their overbearing principal, played by Julie Bowen. In addition to her, of course, from Modern Family, you also have a cast that includes Gregory Smith from Everwood. You also have Malik Yoba, Adam Arkin, George Wendt, Samantha Mathis, Rosanna Arquette, Elizabeth Perkins, Charlotte Shaughnessy, Kim Coles. For some reason, Nicole Richie's also in here, too, because, hey, if Paris Hilton can have a film career, why not Nicole Richie? Well, Paris Hilton's film career is not off to a strong start, and needless to say, Nicole Richie's isn't either. But, yeah, this is pretty bad, and that trailer really isn't saving it either. This is a film that, like I said, it wants to be a raunchy comedy, but that PG-13 rating isn't going to do jack shit if you think that's going to sell people on a film like this. And, yeah, it's just not a good movie, man. It's just really, really lackluster. Like, the jokes don't work very well here. It's lazy jokes. Like, this feels like a movie that was written originally as a CBS pilot for a comedy series that never went anywhere. That's what this movie feels like. And yeah, it just didn't work for me. It's just a movie that is so bland, so unfunny, so wanting to go to that R rating but can't because it's bounded by the limitations of the PG-13 rating, and just wastes a really good cast in general, a really good supporting cast, I should say. But yeah, this one's a hard skip. So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, which is, we're getting back to some underrated gems here, starting with Steve Martin, Jason Schwartzman, and Claire Danes in Shop Girl.
Oh, yes. Would you like to see something?
No, I'll just get the black ones. Thank you.
Thank you.
So you see 2/3 of the love triangle involved in this movie between a disenchanted sales girl, a wealthy businessman, and an aimless young man. That young man being played by Jason Schwartzman. And makes for a really good movie. This was written by Steve Martin. This is actually based off of his novella of the same name. And as you can see, it's more of a dramedy than it is a straight-up comedy. And I think that's amazing. That's one of the amazing things about the movie in general. You have a strong cast, 3 really talented actors at the top of their game, and a really good storyline between these characters in general. And it's a very interesting character study. It's a really intriguing film with some great performances all the way through. it's a much smaller, more refined film. It's not going for anything too bombastic or too big, but it's a nice little slice of life type of storyline here that takes a lot of inspirations from stuff like Lost in Translation, you know, the whole May-December relationship thing. I think Lost in Translation does it better in general, but this one does it pretty good too. And like I said, when you get people like Steve Martin and Claire Danes among the people in the cast, you're usually going to turn up a really good movie in the end. And this is a really solid, really entertaining film. One I highly recommend checking out. So definitely check this one out, Shop Girl. And so with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, which is Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Let's go. Hurry up. It's not my fault. Just shut up and run.
Hold it right there!
Harry was a small-time crook.
Oh, boy.
Till he opened the door
Oh, no, we're not ready for your audition.
Just take him. He's ready. You ready, right?
to a really big break.
Quit acting like the good guy. You got your partner killed. You killed him.
See, this is what I'm talking about. Old school method. Give me Gay Perry on the phone.
But he'll need a real cop
Detective lessons tomorrow for your acting.
Oh, you're the consultant.
if he wants to act the part.
You must be
Gay Perry?
still gay?
Me? No. I just like the name so much, I can't get rid of it.
So what do you do?
I'm a private detective. She thinks I'm a detective. Of all the idiot things to do.
My sister.
Honey,
Murder. Are you gonna help me?
I gotta check my schedule.
How do you help me, Harry? Because you're not gonna help me to find somebody else.
Just sometimes I have other, my caseload is pretty...
Thank you.
From Shane Black, the creator of Lethal Weapon.
Do not play detective.
Moron.
Go home before the bad guys do something bad to you. 2 corpses in 3 hours. I mean, that's unusual, right?
Yes.
Comes a mystery.
It's a frame-up. First things first. You have the corpse. I got rid of it. You threw it away.
Look up idiot in the dictionary. You know what you'll find?
A picture of me? No. The definition of the word idiot. Ow!
That starts with a kiss.
Why'd you lie to me?
It was an excuse to stay around you, so I mean, I think... Ow!
Did I just cut off your finger?
Yeah. It's on the floor. Pick it up. Pick it up.
And ends with a bang.
Where is the girl? You put a live round in that gun. Oh, yeah. There was like an 8% chance. Who taught you math?
Robert Downey Jr.
What do you think? I'm stupid?
Val Kilmer.
Yes. I think you're stupid.
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Oh, hell.
Kiss me. What? Kiss me.
No. These lessons suck.
The acting lessons may suck, but this movie certainly does not. And I've talked about this movie in length in another video I did, kind of like with Cinderella yesterday on Talks on the Review Network on Time About Movies Flashback. I did my top 30 favorite movies. This is number 22 on my list. So if you want to go check out my full review of that, I'll leave a link to it in the corner right here. But if you don't know this movie, I'll be real quick on it. You have Robert Downey Jr. as a petty thief posing as an actor who's brought into Los Angeles for an unlikely audition, finding himself in the middle of a murder investigation along with his high school dream girl played by Michelle Monaghan and a detective played by Val Kilmer, who's been training him for his upcoming role. I mean, it's a really, really good movie. The greatness of what Kiss Kiss Bang Bang offers you, like, you just can't believe that a guy like Shane Black, who is so good with smaller movies like this and The Nice Guys, when he gets a bigger budgeted film like The Predator or Iron Man 3, all that greatness just goes away, and it's just like, what happened with those blockbuster films? Did the studios get involved in that, or was this, or is just Shane Black not ready to tackle big, heavy projects like that? But either way, this is a really good film. It's really well done. This film does a very good job of completely working on all levels. You got a great, enjoyable action comedy that combines everything that we see in great action comedies. Great characters played by great actors. Smart and sharp comedy. Try saying that 3 times fast, because I certainly can't. Great dark humor, solid action sequences, great chemistry between its stars, and just an overall solid plot that all comes together for a very enjoyable film experience that warrants a lot of repeated viewing every time you finish watching it. It's a great movie, and I can't recommend it enough. I mean, like I said, I've already gone into detail of how much I love this movie. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, one of my all-time favorite films, and it's really not hard to see why, so definitely, I highly recommend that one. So let's go ahead and move on to our last film that we have here, which is National Lampoon's Barely Legal.
Well, we've been together for a year now, and I thought it was time to take our relationship
relationship to the next level.
Now?
We've been talking about this for months. Deacon, what's the problem?
I have a math test tomorrow. I had a math test tomorrow? You shut up.
People always talk about how tough it is being a teenage girl. I'll tell you what's really hard. Being a guy. With only one thing on your mind all day long. And absolutely no way of getting it.
That should be us. That's not gonna be us. This year, next year, or any year.
You're 23 years old. I'm not even kidding. When this movie came out, Eric Von Dent was 23 years old. And this was a film that was supposedly shot back in 2003. So even then, he's 21. He should be out of high school by this point. But the story behind this movie is that you have 3 male high school students, which, again, that's questionable, especially considering one of them is freaking 23 years old at the time this movie comes out. 3 male high school students who decide to make money by selling pornographic videos in the hopes of gaining both women and standing among their peers. Did I forget to mention this was directed by the same guy that gave us The Sandlot? Same director. This is written by the guy that gave us one of the guys that wrote American Pie. So, yeah, the talent is definitely there. The movie has no talent whatsoever. Like, Jesus, man, what happened to these people? Like, these people have made good stuff in the past, but this just feels so generic and so bland. How the hell did this get a theatrical release? I don't care if it is National Lampoon. Think about it. Animal House, Vacation. Am I missing any other National Lampoon movies that made it to theaters that were actually considered good films? I don't think so. Van Wilder, I guess. I mean, Van Wilder 1 is kind of fun. I mean, there's probably some other ones I'm definitely missing here, but most of these movies that came out by National Lampoon did not hold up as well as some of the classic films they've done. And this is definitely another one of those movies that really does feel like a film that's completely just there for the name of National Lampoon because they think it'll sell, and it didn't sell. It was not a big hit. It wasn't a big hit when it went to DVD either. So why even bother making the movie then? Why? Just why? This whole movie is such a mess of a film. It's not funny. It's not clever. It's nothing. It's not even a good dirty raunchy movie either. And like, there's not even enough there to say that hey, you can go find this stuff online. Even if you go online to try to find some of the nude scenes in this, it's still not worth it when it's all said and done. Like, you just wasted minutes of your. This movie is so bad it even wastes minutes of your time trying to look for the nude scene. That's how bad this movie is. Just a terrible, terrible film. Yeah, avoid this one like the plague. It's another bad National Lampoon movie that we're trying to make the next big thing, and it just wasn't.
What started me at my work, and I was determined to test the fabric of human nature. I've never murdered anyone. The decisions are up to them.
He's testing us.
Who's testing us? He's a serial killer.
You have to play by the rules.
I'm gonna get out of here.
It's not a good idea.
Those who don't appreciate life do not deserve life. Do you appreciate yours?
So kind of like with the first movie, you have a group of ex-convicts who are trapped by the Jigsaw Killer, played by Tobin Bell, inside of a house and must pass a series of deadly tests to retrieve the antidote for a nerve agent that will kill them within 2 hours. Story is not really much of a thing that you really go into these movies for anyway, but then again, the last Saw movie, Saw X, which was I guess was a prequel, was actually pretty good in terms of the story and the kills as well. But this movie, you're mostly seeing how they're going to up the ante from the kills they had from the last movie, and because now they have more of a budget to do whatever they want with them, and because there's more of a buzz compared to the first movie, you actually do get a really good film with a lot of really intense killer gore scenes in here. And yeah, the trap sequences are nicely done. Tobin Bell is a very good Jigsaw Killer in here. The main characters are your typical horror stock characters, but the fun factor of this movie really does come in from the traps in general and how all these people are going to get affected by them. And yeah, it just makes for a really fun, over-the-top, gory movie. I mean, it is a film that if you don't know what it is going into it, you're probably not going to like it. But if you know it's a Saw movie, you know exactly what you're going to get, I think you get what you want for it here and then some. It's definitely an upgrade over the last movie, and it was actually one of Lionsgate's first major successes. I mean, Lionsgate was the one that helped them kind of put them over the map, but starting with this movie, I mean, this was the one where Lionsgate quickly became, you know, the second is a major studio after this, after being mostly an independent company after all these years, because of this movie's success and a couple of other successes that we'll get to as the months and years go on here, but yeah, Saw 2 does hold a special place in a lot of people's hearts at Lionsgate because it was the film that kind of helped them push them over the top to becoming right up there with the top studios: Disney, Warner Brothers, Universal, Fox, you name it. But Paramount. But yeah, not much more to say about this one. But Saw 2 definitely is indeed worth it. So with all that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, which is a sequel that wasn't as well remembered as Saw 2, and that is The Legend of Zorro. And I think you can figure out why that is by just watching the commercial here.
Gentlemen, the future on October 28th.
They are calling you.
The legend returns.
Give you courage for one last ride.
The adventure begins.
I can't wait till my puppy keeps you.
Take the whole family to what critics are calling a non-stop action adventure.
Gracias.
It's the best family fun you'll experience this year. The Legend of Zorro. PG in theaters.
I think that trailer pretty much shows you everything that's wrong with the movie. First of all, PG rating. The original was PG-13 and was not meant for kids, but you know this movie is clearly intended for kids. It's coming 7 years after the original. Yeah, you can bring back as many people as you want from the first movie. You can bring back the director if you want to. You can even bring in the people who wrote the Pirates of the Caribbean. You better have a really good movie here, but sadly you do not. In 1850, against the backdrop of political unrest as the scheming Jacob McGivens tries to stop California from joining the Union, the mysterious black cape-masked swordsman Alejandro de la Vega, aka Zorro, finds himself in an unavoidable predicament. Having spent almost a decade protecting his people and fighting injustice, Alejandro's wife Elena insists he gives up the black mask and become a true father to their 8-year-old son, Joaquin. You know, we're also taking from The Mummy Returns, because The Mummy Returns introduced the kid, too, and of course, that transpired very well for that series. Not, but anyway. However, when Elena learns from the French court Armand, it becomes evident that the conceited aristocrat is up to no good. Can Zorro, the legendary defender of the innocent, save both his marriage and the country? Will you give a shit when you see this movie? I mean, really, why are we making this movie now in 2005? Nobody gives a crap about Zorro in 2005. Now, if you were going to make this in 2000 or 2001 or even 2002, if you want to get that close to it, like within the span of like 2 to 5 years, then probably there would have been an appeal here. But because you watered this down to being kiddie fair, and the jokes in here are very much PG rated. There's nothing in there that's for the adults like the original. Like, there's no scenes where, you know, Zorro is using his sword to cut off Catherine Zeta-Jones' top or anything. No, there's none of that in this movie, and it'd be fine if the movie actually had something good to say about it, that there was something funny or interesting about it, but there's just nothing there. I mean, it's nothing but a watered-down version of the original film. And it's not even trying. It's just not even trying to do anything in any way, shape, or form. And it's just such a mess, because there are good talents involved in here. And I said that the guys from Pirates of the Caribbean worked on this. They wrote the story for this, but Roberto Urchi and Alex Kurtzman from Lost also had a hand in writing the script for this. So you have good writers here, but they're not given anything to really do with it instead. It's just like there's just nothing here, man. It's just like, it's a waste of time. There's nothing about it that's worth it. And it just feels like a pointless sequel that they're only making because of the name recognition, which this wasn't even worth the name recognition. There wasn't even any name recognition to this in 2005. Like I said, you waited way too long to make this movie, and this just felt like an obligation, because I'm guessing that Sony probably was about to lose the rights to this, so they had to make another movie right away. And yeah, needless to say, this film does not work. So yeah, Legend of Zorro, avoid it like the plague. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to a couple of underrated movies that came out this weekend. We'll start off with Uma Thurman and Meryl Streep in Prime.
Just so eager to please me.
She thought she could tell her therapist anything.
He makes me want to do things I have never wanted to do before.
But she's about to discover
He's my son.
she's already said too much.
She's your mother.
You're her shrink? Meryl Streep, Uma Thurman.
You let me talk to you about our sex life.
Trust me, that was hard
For me, that it was for you.
Prime.
I'm a wreck.
Rated PG-13. Starts October 28th.
In colorful, bustling, modern-day Manhattan, Rafi Garded, played by Uma Thurman, meets David Blumberg, played by Ben Younger, who's also the director of the film. He also did Boiler Room before this. And he's a handsome 23-year-old painter recently out of college. Rafi's therapist is Dr. Lisa Metzger, played by Meryl Streep, who is working to help Rafi overcome his fears of intimacy, finding out that Rafi's new lover is, unfortunately for Lisa, her only son, David. Both David and Rafi must contend with their 14-year-old age gap, vastly different backgrounds, and the demands of David's traditional mother. Despite their intense interactions, the charming couple soon realize that vastly different ages and backgrounds create much conflict. A Jewish hip-hop lover and closet painter who still lives with his grandparents, David has little in common with Rafi, a non-practicing Catholic from a well-spoken family who travels in the sophisticated world of high-end fashion. And hilarity ensues. I mean, it's literally the equivalent of a sitcom when you really look into it, but, it's a really good movie, man. It's one that I definitely think is a very underrated film, and it works mostly because the three main actors in here are so good. You know, actually, I said it was Ben Younger. No, it's Brian Greenberg who plays David in here. But Brian Greenberg is very good in here. I like the chemistry between him and Uma Thurman. Uma Thurman and Meryl Streep have some nice scenes together, but Meryl Streep usually can do anything, and it will not really turn out to be bad because she's definitely involved in it and actually is given a role. I mean, yeah, she's made some bad movies, but this is definitely not one of them. And it's a really good movie. It's a very entertaining film. You know, it's a very funny film in general. Yeah, it has a sitcomish plot in general, and there are a lot of jokes that are very sitcom-y in general, but because you have some good talents right here, it does carry the load a little bit to say that it's definitely worth a watch. It's definitely something that if you like a light, breezy, romantic comedy, Prime is definitely the movie you should see. I highly recommend it, so definitely check that one out. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the last movie, which is easily, without a doubt, my favorite movie of the weekend, and that is one of my favorite underrated movies of all time, and that is, of course, Nicolas Cage as The Weatherman.
People recognize me sometimes. Some are jerks. Every couple months, someone throws something at me. A chicken breast, a soft taco. That was refreshing.
What's this? Spiegel. Do you know that the harder thing to do and the right thing to do are usually the same thing?
Nicolas Cage, Michael Caine.
People don't throw things at me anymore. Maybe because I carry a bow around.
The Weatherman, rated R, starts October 20th.
So The Weatherman is a movie that stars Nicolas Cage as a weatherman in the midst of a midlife crisis. He plays Dave Spitz, a local weatherman in his hometown of Chicago, where his career is going well, while his personal life, his relationship with his perfectionist writer father, played by Michael Caine, his neurotic ex-wife, played by Hope Davis, and his now separated children, one of them played by Nicholas Hoult, is spiraling downward. Despite being loathed and loved by the local masses, Dave is a guy who doesn't seem to have it all together, and in this film he begins to feel it. An attractive job offer presents Dave with a major question: to pursue his career in New York City or to remain at home with his family. This is directed by Gore Verbinski and written by Stephen Conrad, and it was not a big hit when this came out. This was seen as kind of a bomb at the box office. I mean, it wasn't that big of a bomb when you really look at it. It cost $22 million to make and brought in $19 million worldwide, but again, it was something that was quickly forgotten by a lot of people, but except for me personally. But I know that I've stated that Cage has not been that great of an actor in the past, but when you give him a really good role like this, he can pull it off perfectly, and this is a prime example of why this is a great role for him. You know, this is a brilliantly acted, well-written dark comedy with not only a great performance by Cage, but you have the cast that includes Hope Davis, Nicholas Hoult, Michael Caine, Gil Bellows. Some nice cinematography, a good story, great dark comedy too. I never get bored watching this movie by any means. It unfortunately did crash and burn at the box office, but it was not that great of a critical success. But the movie really is a great underrated gem that proves that Nicolas Cage can be a great actor while he gets the role right. And he knocks it out of the park with this movie. You know, it inspired me a lot because it proved that in a time when you had like a lot of blockbusters reigning supreme, there are still those little movies like this that are reminiscent of the ways movies used to be. Very story-driven, competently handled. To say whether or not this is Cage's best as an actor, it's a really close call. I do like a lot of his movies. I like his performance in Leaving Las Vegas, Raising Arizona, Moonstruck, Peggy Sue Got Married, even over this hot stuff like Vampire's Kiss, Con Air. I mean, Lord of War, we just talked about that one not too long ago. This is definitely a movie that's right up there with some of his best movies in general. just has so many great lines in it too, and so many great kind of relatable moments in general, like the scene in the trailer there where, you know, he's a weatherman. Of course he's going to get the weather wrong, and when it does, you know, people won't be afraid to throw stuff at him, food at him, and there's like a great montage of all the stuff that's been thrown at him, like chicken nuggets, drinks, you know, a Whopper, you know, a taco, like, it's a running gag in the movie, and it's one of those things where it makes a lot of sense. A lot of the stuff in this movie that happens does make a whole lot of sense, and it makes for a really good, criminally underrated film that sadly I don't think a lot of people give the proper respect it deserves, but it's definitely a film that is well worth a watch. This is one I highly recommend. Definitely check out The Weatherman. It's definitely one movie you can't afford to miss.